Lack of credit history. Like I said, if you're already in business, you've been doing business for a few years, there is no clear delineation between yourself and the business. It's a problem. Because if you have a personal account and you run your business through your personal account, all your personal expenses and your business expenses are loaded into one account. If you provide that statement to a financial institution, how do you separate your personal expenses from your business expenses? So they will just not have time for you. They will just see you as being unserious. And some registered companies, some registered enterprises actually still behave in this way till today. In Bank of Industry, we see a lot of this, and it doesn't really present you well as being serious in what you do. If you can't simply just have a separate bank account for your business and one for your personal expenses. If you run a small business, no matter how small, a fundamental thing you need to think about is you need to think about a salary for yourself, which you will take out from the business. And of course, you know that business expenses are exempt from taxes. So you would run your revenue, business expenses, salaries, wages, and all of them before you get into the taxable income and, some other parameters in there. So it's important for us to be disciplined. Lack of credit history. So for a typical commercial bank, if you do not have a history with any bank, it is difficult for them. They won't even waste time with you. They will just move on to the next individual who is showing more seriousness in that respect. Non-availability of collateral. That's a major problem. The Central Bank of Nigeria that supervises and regulates the financial industry, in the requirements for providing loans, you have to have a security for a loan. You have to have a security. So if you decide not to, and it fits into your non-performing loans, you would have a case to answer with the CBN that you did not secure the loan properly. And a lot of MSMEs struggle with that. But there are several schemes that have been developed by CBN and ourselves, Bank of Industry. When I get into Bank of Industry, I'll provide you with more details on that. If you do not, so there are different opportunities to be able to secure loans. It doesn't have to be a property. It doesn't have to be a bank guarantee. Depending on the value of funds you're seeking for, it could be a personal guarantee. So we'll get into all of those details. So non-availability of collateral is a problem. Lack of bankable loan applications. That's another very fundamental, problem. A lot of people have good ideas, right? But when it comes to putting the idea on paper, in terms of demonstrating on paper what you really want to do and how you make your business survive, they struggle. And there could be many factors responsible for this. Maybe they do not have formal education, or they're just not good at writing and all of that. But you can get people to put this down for you. We have a structure, which I will talk about. But if you do not have a business plan of the business you want to go into, or that you're already running, nobody will take you serious. If you come to a bank and you bring a sheet of paper to just say, I want to go into this business and I need money, you need to be able to demonstrate how the business will survive. Because the financial institution, if he loans you money, he wants his money back. Commercial banks are there to make profit. They will not give you money based on the fact that you're friends, or because they see you and they think, this guy looks like a good guy, he will bring my money back. There needs to be something on ground. For us as development finance institution, we take a different approach to things. We see more of developmental impact. So we will guide you through the process. We have a structure, a partnership with about 300 business development service providers that we have agreed on a structure of payment where affordable amount, as low as 10,000 naira, to put together business plans for micro, small, and medium enterprises if you require that service. So you need to have a proper business, bankable business plan. High vulnerability to market fluctuations. This is adaptability. You need to be adaptable to the changing environment. In a place like Africa, things change a lot. So if you do not have the what-if mindset, what if something goes wrong? What if the government comes out with a policy that affects my business? What is the next best alternative for me to look into? You need to have that mindset. So you need to continuously groom yourself, read, and just get yourself updated with things that are going on in your environment. Because suddenly you may just find yourself out of business. And of course, that affects the way you would reach out to financial institutions to provide you with funds. Lack of trained manpower, managerial skills. A lot of MSMEs in sub-Saharan Africa do not have that managerial skills. And that fits into the discipline that I talked about. That's part of having that management mindset to be able to strictly separate, business from person. And of course, increased exposure to high cost of doing business. We all know what we face, apart from the taxes that small businesses face when from local government, the area boys will come and collect their own too, and all sorts of funny taxes that really affect them from surviving. Those are some of the things that affect them. So it's not just about their inability to put things together within their environment, but we know there are things outside of their control that affects their survival. Of course, we know about power, we know about roads, access to market. By the time you even move your goods to the market, the goods are not even in a good sellable shape anymore because of the potholes and all sorts of things are there. And that's why you find out in some cases, imported goods come out to be less expensive than locally produced goods. Those are some of the things that really affect competition in that sense, because there are so many ways that goods get into Nigeria. If we go into the next slide, please. So in spite of all of these issues, there are great potentials in this country. We're a country of about 200 million people. By 2050, with the rate of growth of population, we would have more people than the United States of America. On an annual basis, our population grows by about 2.6%. Right? And if you project that to 2050, we would have close to about 400 million people. On the other side, if you look at the economy, our economy between last year and this year grew by about 1.9%. So the economy is growing, but there are more people to take care of. So if you just put it side by side, the growth is not enough to take care of the new children that are being born. So those are some of the things. So many people have advised that maybe we should peg the number of people that, the number of children that families can have. Maybe that would be a way to curb it. But on the other side, with a population of 200 million people, provides a lot of opportunities as well. Because what you find is, with 200 million people, there is practically no product or business that you would do, that you can go into, that you would not find that niche, that market for you to get your product sold. So there are two ways to look at it. High population growth rate, which is affecting how resources move around. There's not enough to go around. But on the other side, the market is huge. It's huge. So that's a major opportunity. Diversely skilled labor pool. We Nigerians, anywhere we go abroad, if we go to school in the US, go to school in the UK, you find out that Nigerians are the ones that come out tops. And of course, what these countries will do will be to hold on to those people, give them citizenship so that they will remain there, and use up all their intellectual stuff while the country suffers. So we have that skill set, but when it comes back to feeding it into the environment, it becomes a problem. But there are quite a number of things that the government is doing in that respect, but it's still difficult to get around 200 million people. So it needs to be a strategic step through to get to the promised land. So they are increasing public-private partnership businesses. Currently, the government's priority is to restore growth in the MSME with the realization that we need to support MSMEs to make them grow. The next slide, please. Okay, so the next slide talks about how to fund a business. From the panel discussions, they talked about it as well, and it's a general advice, that if you want to start a business, you shouldn't go to the bank. The bank will not even listen to most of you. But for us, we have a structure for providing support to new businesses. But the general advice is to first leverage your personal savings, family, friends, to start up. Why? Because these are people, who can provide you funds, support, based on sentiment, right? If, for example, you go into a business and your father lends you money, lends you 500,000, you start the business fails. If he fails, he cannot come to you. Well, you would expect in Africa, in Europe, you have parents who children in that respect. In Africa, it's unlikely that your father will come to you and say, you must give me my money or there will be problem. So these are people who would provide you support based on sentiment. So if things go bad, because it's very risky, at the startup level is the riskiest part of getting started in any business. So look for all these kind of monies first. You're now a bit comfortable and you think you should scale up, you should expand. You then begin to look at equity investors. There are different sort of structures. Even in Nigeria, there are so many structures where you can get people to invest in you in equity, where they will own a part of your business. But like I said, the cultural angle is that a lot of us would rather just hold on to everything we have, no matter how small it is, than rather sharing, giving out 20% or selling 20% of the stake of our business to scale up. Because we get so sentimental about the business that you do not want to give out or sell out, some of your stake. So that's the next level. From being a startup, you want to scale up, consider equity investors. There are several models, like I said, and you can Google this, you will find a lot. Even in Nigeria, there are so many opportunities there. You have angel investors, and these are people who would not only provide you with funds, because they have their skin in the game as well, they will provide you with support. They will provide you with intellectual support. Most of the people who invest in this kind of businesses will be people who already have some sort of experience working with those sort of companies. Private equity firms, there are many of them around. Then, you may now consider debt financing if you want to grow further. It's about scaling up. Debt financing is the last level, more or less. So if you want to get bigger, you can go to that. You're comfortable enough, and you are able to demonstrate that if you take this loan, you will be able to pay back. Because if you borrow money, you have to pay back. You provide a collateral or a security. If things go bad, the fund provider will chase after you to collect their money. If things go bad with an equity investor, they are part owners of the business. If things go bad and the business go bust, there's nothing they can fall back on, because they are part owners just like yourself. So on a general advice, that's how it is, expected that we'll reach out. So don't go straight into looking for debt finance, because you have to pay interest on a monthly basis. For an equity investor, you can pay dividends when you are able to. You're not obliged to pay dividends. If you don't make profit, there's no dividends to pay. Even if you make profit, you can decide, with your board members, if you have any, to plow back the money back into the business. But for a debt provider, they will be paid interest and the principal will surely be paid back. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're talking about geometric growth. Right, this is how it just fits into what I've talked about in terms of scaling up, starting from small and growing big. You need to be disciplined. You need to put in structures to ensure that you improve on your sales. You continuously check the market, feel the pulse of the market to check whether your products are still relevant in the market. Those are some of the things that you find, and a lot of young people in Nigeria are doing great things, and they have that mindset. Some of them with not so formal education, but you need to get yourself to be at that level so that you can scale up and achieve this geometric growth we're talking about. You need to always ensure that you are in line with new developments in the economy. Know what is going on. The federal budget has been read. You see where the government is channeling their energies. You see policy releases. Know how that may affect you, your business, so that you don't get surprised. You don't get hit by a major policy that will just throw you out of business. Next slide, please. Okay, so this basically summarizes, the next slide summarizes how you can ensure your sustainability, because that's the whole idea of starting a business. The plan is to start a business, grow the business, and hopefully, make it multi-generational, for your children, your children's children, and the rest of them. And we've seen so many success stories, but a lot more of them do not survive because of so many reasons, within the management and the external forces. So first of all, keep your finances in order and have a clear business plan. And a business plan is not just for you to obtain finance. You need to keep updating it as things go on in the environment. It will more or less just be your reference point when you want to take a business decision to see, okay, how, if I do this, what may be the repercussion, because you don't know how things will play out. But it's good for us to plan ahead. If things fall the other way, at least you've considered it, you won't be hit too hard, as opposed to someone who doesn't have a plan at all. Ensure that financial records are kept for your business. Increase efforts to improve business and technical know-how. Attend conferences, seminars related to your business. Send yourself on training. Interact with the business community. In spite of being competitors, there are some common things that you face that you can also, create a force or even sort of like advocacy to the government. That's why you have National Association of Small and Medium Enterprises, because they create that force where a policy gets thrown out and it affects them in a significant manner. They have that structure through which they can approach the government. Be part of such associations. Engage in capacity building programs like I talked about. And engage in co-funding activities. Be ready, be willing to have partners in your business. It doesn't hurt. It's about putting heads together. One head is better than, many heads better than one. You need to always try to bring in more people. They bring in new ideas. They bring in funds, and you can all grow together and be successful. Establish structured corporate governance framework within your business, which I have mentioned earlier, and build your network of people in the same business with you. Make friends, people who can, all sorts, who can help you. A $200 million line on their behalf to support local content. So this fund provides loans to local institutions that operate in the oil and gas sector. But there's a caveat there, because these local institutions, they're required to be paying some sum on an annual basis. They contribute to this fund. So it's basically providing a structure to be lending back their funds. So if you've not been contributing to the fund as an oil and gas player in Nigeria, you can't access this fund. Solid minerals is another huge area for us. As we know, there are 44, it was documented that there are 44 economically, sizable value of solid minerals in Nigeria that can be exploited to add significantly to the government's revenue. 44 identified deposits in Nigeria, scattered all over the place. There was even a time we went for some visits around some areas in the country, and we actually saw some people using their hands to dig out gold from somewhere in Niger State. So close to the surface. But a lot of activities in that area is still done at a very unstructured business. And now you actually have a lot of foreigners coming in, a lot of foreigners come in and they pull these local people together to be mining for them. Those are some of the things that the government is trying to do, to put a structure to it, to have a policy around it, and to make, more success out of it. Healthcare and petrochemicals. Healthcare will support hospitals, will support diagnostic centers, and the likes. Petrochemicals, plastic industry, lubricants, and the rest of them. Engineering and technology, we have a structure in place to support this sort of businesses as well. Electronic cards, production, automotive industry, and the likes. Creative industry. In 2014, we put together a fund called the Nolly Fund to support businesses in the entertainment industry. As at date, we've provided support between 2014 and now, at least at the very least, of about 80 billion naira to the industry. It's a massive industry. It was worth about $3 billion as far back as 2017. It's very, very huge. And, we're still scaling up. Most of the cinemas in Nigeria, we've supported them. The likes of Film House, Silverbird, and the rest of them. And it's not just on the film side. We have the music side as well, where we support these people. Renewable energy is new. It's still gaining ground in Africa, so to speak. South Africa has really gone very far in this area. Very small, people that that are struggling to survive have solar panels on top of their buildings. That's how they have really embraced it. But for us, it's still growing. We support the industry. We have, contractors that we work with to provide this sort of loans to SMEs to be able to power their offices and their small cottage businesses. Education is huge for us, supply chain and logistics, and of course, trade. The next slide just provides an overview of what, the structure of our business. So, like I said, we support micro enterprises, we support small and medium enterprises, and we support large enterprises. All of these businesses have a directorate, to provide that sort of structured approach to supporting them. And it's been quite challenging and interesting the way things evolve. We have seen institutions that started with us over several years from being micro to become large enterprises today. So in terms of what we look out for, or what's our developmental strategy, things that gets us interested and things that we do. First of all, we provide lower interest rates than all financial institutions in Nigeria, registered financial institutions. Our loans are largely an average of 10% per annum. Of course, we know what the commercial banks lend at. We know what the microfinance banks lend at. We provide innovative financing solutions. Some of the things we do that you find interesting is we have moratorium on our loans. Moratorium means we provide you with a loan today. You do not start paying back on the principal until we believe that you should have stabilized enough to start paying back. Of course, on a monthly basis, you'll be paying interest. And that provides you with some sort of leverage to be able to get yourself together. Because it takes a while. If you're in the manufacturing industry, if we support you in buying your equipment, if the equipment, for example, comes from China, before we provide you with the finance, you haven't started business. They put the equipment, some of them are even specialized that they have to actually start putting it together. Before it gets to the port, before it gets put together, moved to the port, shipped to get to Nigeria, clearing, before they couple it together, test it, and starting business. Some of this may take up to 2 years in some cases. So we provide you with that support to ensure that it is when the business has actually started and you started making money that you start paying back on the principal. So that's just one of the examples that I will provide long-term financing for businesses. We have a strong focus on MSMEs. We have a bias for sustainability and businesses that support the environment in terms of job creation, no degradation on the environment, and we support women and youth businesses. We have departments that are set up to support specifically women-owned businesses and the youth. We get interested with businesses that have export earnings, because that's always what is good for the country, to have that balance of payment. You export more than you import. That's what every country would like to get to. And we support backward and forward integration. Local raw material content. If you source for your raw materials locally, we'll be more interested in you than you importing your raw materials. And environmentally friendly projects. The next slide, just a few of the products that we have. That's why we put a note there. We will share this presentation, can be shared with everyone, so you can go through some of these slides in your own time. This is just a few of the products that we have. We have a long list called the compendium of our products, which you can view on our website. So I won't go into the details of these products. Okay, so I talked about the business development service providers. We started this initiative in 2014. We've grown them to about 300 now. What they do, and they exist all over Nigeria. What they do is to provide support, business advisory support. So if you're struggling with putting together a business plan, they can help you do that at a cost which has been agreed. Like I said, I think it's as low as 10,000 naira, depending on the value of funds that you require. Of course, as the value of funds you require grows, the more the detail will require you to provide. So as the loan size gets bigger, they will want to get more from you in terms of the work that they're required to do. And like I said, they're all over the country. So we have the state category, we have the regional, we have the national. Because some of them actually have offices that covers the entire country. And the federal government is actually trying to put a proper structure to ensure that these BDSPs are nationally accredited. We're working with SMEDAN to do that. I know some of you are familiar with SMEDAN. It's an agency of the government as well, where their role is to actually ensure that SMEs survive. So it's not about providing them with finance, to keep advocating for them and providing a proper structure to support them. So how to apply for BOI loans? So there are some general things that I will touch on. We have a lot of information and things you can read through from our website. First things first is you must be a registered institution. There are several levels of being registered. You can be, the lowest level is to be an enterprise, which now, as part of this of doing business, you can actually go to Corporate Affairs Commission and register an enterprise online and get your registration details within 24 hours. And you can also be a limited liability company. Of course, you can then be a PLC. So you have to be registered for us to have a conversation. And you can actually submit, so you can go to, we have 24 offices all over Nigeria now in different states. The one in Lagos is somewhere in Agidingbi, where you can visit if you want to physically visit. If you do not want to do one-on-one, you can apply online and you can see the details of application requirements online as well. But of course you need to, if you want to have that one-on-one discussion, they are there to speak with you for being a micro, small, and medium enterprises. So the interest rate on loans, everything is right there, but I'll touch on some of them just so we can have that dialogue here. And there are different, timelines to how we process the loan. But of course, one general thing that, people tend to say is it takes a long time for banks or the BOI to provide loans to them. In a lot of cases, there are different parts to it. So there's a process to get to being approved. And after the loan has been approved, there's also a process before it gets disbursed. So there are pre-approval requirements and there's post-approval requirements. Post-approval requirements are the pre-disbursement requirements. So you just need to be aware of that. So going straight to the interest rate on loans, so it ranges from 5% to 10%. In fact, there are some products where the interest rate is 0%. For example, the Graduate Entrepreneurship Fund that we put together and we work with NYSE to roll out. It's at 0% interest rate. And there you can borrow up to 2 million and do scale up or start up or scale up your business. Okay, so interest rate on working capital is 13% per annum for SMEs and 15% per annum for large enterprises. Appraisal fee, 1%, commitment fee, 1%. Some of them are one-off, some of them are through the life of the loan. Of course, there are other statutory charges that goes to the government. For example, if you're paying for stamp duties, registration fees, your CAC filings, and these fees are dependent on, on your size. If you're an enterprise, you're limited liability or PLC. And professional legal fees, there's always that legal side where both of us have to sign. You would need your lawyers it's advisable for you to reach out to your lawyers to read through so that they can be clear, you can be clear and understand where your liability lies. So the next slide, which is actually the last slide, is some other requirements that we'll need from you. Of course, if you're registered, you need to provide us with the evidence of registration, your memorandum and articles of association. Those really apply to limited liability companies. Your business plan, which basically would demonstrate your management profile. You need to demonstrate. If you're a promoter, you may own the business and just take a back seat and have, your MD and the rest of them. You need to demonstrate that ability of the management team that they can manage the business. And how we decide, how we see that is based on experience, that they've worked in that sort of business before, their qualification to be in that business, and, just a number of checks. We also check if you're politically exposed or you're financially exposed to see how your loans, your current loans with other institutions are doing, and the rest of it. So they are it's a rigorous process. Because for us, because we're largely, we're seen as a public institution, though we're a limited liability company, it is really important to us to ensure that as we give out these monies come back so it can reach out to more people. That's always the idea for us. So we need to be sure we're giving the money to the right person. Okay, so there are other things, if you're buying an equipment, we need to see a pro forma invoice of the equipment. You need to know how much the equipment you're trying. So you need to do your homework properly before you come to us. What sort of equipment you need, what equipment will do, how much does it cost, where is it coming from, your bank statement for the past 1 year, if you're an existing business. If you're a startup, of course, you don't have that, so that's not required. Of course, a couple of other things. So if you're, your security. So if it's a personal guarantee for loans up to 10 million, we will take personal guarantees from you. Personal guarantee is basically someone who can show that they have the financial capacity to pay back on your outstanding loan. In peradventure, you cannot pay the loan anymore for one reason or the other. But of course, we don't go straight into that immediately. We would always have a dialogue with you to see if you're struggling and basically work out some sort of structure to make it easier for both sides before we take that decision. Of course, we'll also accept properties for big loans, properties or bank guarantees as the case may be. So in a nutshell, that's my presentation to you today. Thank you very much.
I believe you can do better than that. Please, let's appreciate Sayinka. Please, can we put our hands together? God bless you. So how many of you have been blessed? I know we have a lot of questions, so it's time for us to ask questions. So if you have your written questions, kindly signify to the ushers. They will collect them. But if you want to ask here, please kindly come forward. Kindly come here. And please, let's make our questions very, very brief. Very brief. If you have written questions, kindly signify to the ushers.
Hello. My question is actually short. You mentioned in your submission about some consultants from your office that can handle certain aspects of business development plan. So how do we access such consultants?
The list is right on our website. So once you go to our website from the home page, just, from the home page, you would see quick links, right? Quick links. From the quick links, you will see the list of the 300 business development service providers. Their addresses, their phone numbers are all there, email addresses, everything. Quick links from our website. Just go to bui.ng.
I don't intend to run away with your loan, but what is the percentage of non-performing loan of the Bank of Industry?
So there are two parts to it. For the SMEs, the non-performing loans comes to close to about 40%. And that is a general phenomenon. But because the large enterprises in terms of volume is a lot larger than the SMEs, for the large enterprises, because they're largely more structured, they pay back on their loans. They also have bank guarantees. On their side is about 2%. So when you blend it as a bank, our non-performing loans is about less than 10%. Because it's based on, the value versus the volume.
Thank you very much. My question is actually based on some observations I made from your presentation. Because apparently, even checking the link that you gave to us, I could say that there was no focus on service sector, even from the presentation you made, and I'm wondering why that is always like that all the time for those in service sector. Secondly, if when I was looking at the breakdown on the loan aspect, it's like the cost of the loan is kind of really prohibitive. This fee, this percentage, that percentage, and you even introduced another leg to it about engaging a lawyer to probably help us look at the T&C. That already has a cost implication, and I'm wondering where all those money is going to come from for an SME. And last but not the least, my own takeaway, I stand to be corrected, is as if BOA is kind of focused on large enterprises, or the relatively medium-sized enterprises, and not really taking into consideration the small and the micro. And you actually showed us in your presentation about SMEs contributing 48%. And in my mind, because I also work with statistics, the micro and the small seems to form the chunk of that 48%, and yet focus is not on them. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, for SM, the services sector you talked about, we support the services sector. So it depends on where you operate. Of course, the creative industry, there's no tangible sort of product that they work on. Music, we support music. We support several, like I said, when I was presenting the sectors, we're not limited to those sectors. We provide support to the telecoms industry. We provide support to, and this is a services industry. So we provide support to areas where even, that are not tangible. For example, we have a structure where we support people who do coding, the technology guys who do coding. Because we do not directly do it, doesn't mean we don't support it. We have a structure with the CC Hub. I know some of you will know Co-Creation Hub, where they provide financial support to people who write codes and who are in the technology, they write software and the rest of them. We have funds that we've invested in them where they provide this support. So this is just a mini presentation. There's no way I can go into everything that we do, but we support that sort of segment. Talking about SMEs, if you see the 24 state offices that we have, all they do is support SMEs. The large businesses, right, are taken care of from the head office. So the outreach structure that we have is for SMEs. Most of these products that I've just talked about, the compendium of products, are for SMEs. We provide loans at like 0 to 10% for SMEs. The large enterprises pay more. But of course, generally, what you find is the large enterprises look for large amounts of money. So we have more of MSMEs in our books than the large enterprises. And you talk about the cost. We still need to cover our cost. We're in business. We're a limited liability company. We do not get monies from federal government. We raise monies ourselves. These monies come at a cost. At the end of the day, right, it is still a lot cheaper than you can get anywhere else in Nigeria. And that's why we actually started the Graduate Entrepreneurship Fund. We started at 5% per annum. But of course, we realized that people struggle. Of course, these guys are the youths. They've just come out of school. We changed it to 0%. They don't pay any interest on the loan. And we can always have that arrangement. We're flexible in that respect. And that's why we would not call on guarantees. If your business starts going bad, we'll have a discussion. We will structure your loan and provide that sort of structure because we have to be sustainable ourselves.
Thank you. I have 2 questions. One, how can an entrepreneur without the required equity contribution or collateral and maybe a startup access fund from BOI? Then 2, how can an entrepreneur with agricultural processing idea or outfit access fund individually from or through BOI?
You cannot access funds on your person. There has to be a registered entity. So you can't come as Mr. Bayo to come and borrow money.
It's registered.
Well, you said individual. Individual.
Yes.
Registered business, yes, we'll talk to you. Agro-processing is actually what we do. We don't do primary agriculture. I need to let you know that. There's an institution called Bank of Agriculture. They will lend money to farmers who plant and harvest. But for us, we take the processing area. For example, you've harvested your cassava and you want to manufacture gari, we will provide you with the support to buy your equipment and working capital to do that. So agro-processing is what we do. We don't support primary agriculture. The first question, I don't know, I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for this. My question, one of them have been answered. I want to know specifically which area does printing, both service and production, falls on your features. And then also, you are talking about 3 years audited accounts. And you also mentioned that there are some of these businesses, enterprises, that are not even in the financial world, like registered, like all those kind of a thing. And then where this is not available, the 3 years audited account, what is the other option? Then secondly, the issue of getting equipment from outside Nigeria. I've approached one of your branches through a friend of mine and said to me that they won't support you getting equipment outside Nigeria except the one that is already on ground. I'm confused, but you are saying that it's possible. So please.
Thank you for those questions. Okay, so the first one is printing. Printing will fall under the engineering and technology space, and we'll support printing. We'll buy you equipment to carry out your printing business. I talked about the 3 years audited financials. Like I said, if we support startups, that would not be required. If you've been in business for 1 year, what you can provide is 1 year. If you've been in business for 2 years, what you can provide is 2 years. So we'll consider it. But if you've been in business for 5 years, longer than 3 years, we need at least 3 years audited accounts. That's what it is. So, and we support startups. So you can come and not have done anything, but of course you go through a stringent process, and we have funds that we've placed in financial institutions and other partners to support those sort of businesses. The one on the importation, most of the equipment that we provide support for, come from outside of Nigeria. We get some of these things, but we try to manage it and ensure that our people are properly, educated so that they don't, misinform the public. We support equipment coming from anywhere, and locally manufactured equipment as well. So there's no restriction.
Thank you, sir. I just want to throw this to you, sir. I'm into agricultural business. Let me say primary agriculture. Let me say livestock, to be precise. And we have been doing this business for the past 3 years. But the major constraint is finance. All the finance we extend of this business is personal resources, relative, and every other one. And we have been trying to scale up. So I don't know if you can be of help to us, because in your introduction, you said you don't do primary agriculture. Please, could you just be of help to us? Because we want to come up this year, please.
You see, what I would advise you, for you to be able to access funds from us, if you want funds to be able to rear your animals, just to stop there, we will not, it's not within our mandate. But if you want to go into having an abattoir, so you've reared these animals to this level, you want to start processing, because that's what we call processing. You want to start slaughtering them and packaging them and all of that. We'll support that. And that's where I expect that you should get to, rather than expanding the scale of your, primary livestock. So we can talk about that.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Business is practical. Beyond theory, business models, and some other things. I'm just wondering, I want you to share experiences with us. You will get what we call business plans. People will submit all the requirements, all the conditions precedent to draw down whatever. And business will still fail. You told us statistics of some bad loans or whatever. What normally go wrong? We need to understand this, because for anybody who would have satisfied all your requirements and still will go wrong, it means business is vulnerable in one area or the other. So that those who really want to go into this business will understand whether there are some external issues, exogenous or endogenous matters. That is what is really of interest to me, especially that we are trying to develop areas of business for people in our province. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the main issue, there are, like you said, there are exogenous issues, and there are some that are within you that you can manage. We've talked about personal discipline. We've talked about educating yourself to ensure that you're on top of the sort of sector that you're operating in. But of course, there's so many other issues that you have no control over. You have no control over power. To some extent, you can create power for yourself. That's another cost that you would have to incur. You have no control over transportation. The roads are what they are. The rails are what they are. So it depends. But things within your control, at least try to manage those first. Personal discipline, educating yourself, have a plan, a flexible plan that you always go back to update as things go. So things within your control, you do as much as possible to control them. But things outside your control, there's only so much you can do. But businesses fail, and it's global. Small businesses, I think about 90% of them fail in the first 5 years of startups. Depending on, so there's luck as well. There may be some policies that may just be thrown out and throw you out of business immediately. So there's a bit of luck, personal discipline, personal education, and the external forces which you basically have no control over.
Thank you, sir. My questions and my contribution is in line with the man that left here. Because I've been in business, I think I have approached a Bank of Industry before. I know what it takes. You get auditor to audit your accounts. After that, we are talking about collateral. They say you go and bring estate valuer to value your property. The estate valuer, you have to pay him. All this at your own cost that you are looking for loan. Many things goes. But my main concern for my brethren here is that in Nigeria system, small-scale business is not being insulated. We are not being protected. You are vulnerable that you can die under 3 months. For instance, I opened a bottled water company. And Coca-Cola, as big as Coca-Cola, is still operating in Nigeria to produce bottled water. Nestle is producing water. 7-Up is producing water. No business is reserved for the indigenous that are being given this small loan. In America, I'm telling you, in America, you can't go to American company give you a contract to go and bring paint that they will use to renovate their embassy. If you don't bring any paint that is American company inclined, they will turn you back. The same thing to China. Their business revolve about their company, that the money will go back to them. But Nigeria, here, everything, they want this, but no insulation again. So what I'm trying to say is that maybe when people are drawing your policy, you should put into consideration that small companies should be insulated against this multinational. Because the multinational are the one killing most of all these small companies. They have gone to the extent of investing in pure water and everything. God will help us.
Thank you. But just to let you know that we're not government, just a general advice. So I'm wondering why you went into the bottled water business if you know all of these things. Or maybe it was after you started that you realized that Nestle and the rest are doing, so that's understanding competition. Maybe you should have done something else.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Sorry, please, there's a car that is blocking another car. Toyota Yaris black color, LSR 626BS. Toyota Yaris black color is parked at in front of the event center. Please kindly go and repark.
Thank you, sir. My question is on support that we have from Bank of Industry. I run an engineering firm, and the company is registered. We have a dedicated banker. But as at the time we registered the organization, the commercial bank told us that we need to run it for like 3 to 6 months. During that period, we got a big project, and we approached them for support. They turned us down. That, well, you are not up to 6 months in their system. Okay, now after 10 years, I will cover the name of that bank, being in that system, we got a project from NNPC. We approached them. Sir, the engineering firm is about 16 years old now. That commercial bank has not given us a support. And during the presentation we had since morning, we heard that Nigerians have been moving to other countries, and when they discover that they are good, they give them citizenship to enslave them there. Sir, this is one of the problems we've been facing in business. Some good talents in Nigeria needed financial support, and this is easier said than done. If all we've had here could truly be, sir, the youth of this country will go far, and there will be great development in Nigeria. One. Then two, do we really need to open an account with Bank of Industry to have access to support, or we can just come like that? Thank you, sir.
First thing, just to clarify to you, the sort of business you do, we do not have a structure for it. If you have a contract, we will not provide you funds to fulfill your contract. We fund tangible things, and of course the services industry as well. But not you have a contract and you need money to fulfill that contract. We don't do that. For us, it's the real sector, largely. But of course, we have SMEs, the small industries that are into services. We will provide funds for them, but we won't support that. In terms of opening an account with us, we don't take deposits from like commercial banks too. So opening an account with us is that we have granted you a loan. So your account with us is your loan account. So it's not you must open an account, then put money there. We don't take deposits. So our offices don't have money there. It's just advisory and loan management. Yeah.
Thank you. Part of my question has been asked. It's on the area of printing. Now, on the creative industry, you mentioned that you support Nollywood.
I may just clarify to that gentleman. Sir, if you're in the oil and gas sector, we do contract financing in that one because the fund owners, we have $200 million, like I said, that we manage on behalf of that institution. If you have a contract in the oil and gas sector, which I'm sure some engineering firms do, you can borrow money to fulfill contracts. But you have to have been fulfilling your part in terms of contributing to that fund. That's the only structure we have for contract LPO financing and the rest of them.
So I wanted to find out now to know, under the creative industry, Nollywood, music, now when it comes to printing, what's your response to authors? Can authors deal with you? Because I believe writers, they are part of the creative industry.
Okay, what we do in that sense is, if it's script, if it's for movies, yes, but not for you to write a book. If you write scripts for movie producers, what we do in that sense is we have a group of, we don't take collateral, actually physical collateral from these creative industry people. If you want to roll out a movie, we have a group of about 5 to 10, industry specialists, which includes names that you're aware of in the industry. What they do is to analyze the script to determine whether this is a very good script. We can support this script to go into production and end up in cinemas. We will support that. So if they give us the go-ahead, we will support that. And how we protect ourselves is to have that tripartite structure between the script writer, the producers, and the film stations, wherein as people are watching your movies, they remit the funds to us. So we won't ask you to bring in, a house or this or that if you're in that space. But for writing books, we don't currently do that, please.
I think some of your policy needs to be reviewed because of the business environment. I am in the business of mobile and e-commerce, and we do good business. And I remember when the dollar keep rising and capital be eroded, and we need more capital because we are in importation. And I approached the bank. They were asking me, you must have 6 staff, you must be structured. Which staff? I'm trading from my house and I'm doing good business. So where do I need to now be having 6 staff, having a big structure? I must have a business, I must have a location. Some business need not to have a real business location. But they still need to do business, and they are doing good business. So your policies too need to be reviewed in order to accommodate such business too.
But I don't know if I said that we don't support businesses with virtual offices. I didn't say that. I don't know where you got that. Have you approached us before? So what did they tell you?
What they tell me was
you must have 6 staff.
Yes, I was at your office. What they told me was, Madam, what do you do? I said, I sell shoes, I sell children clothes, I do mobile, and I sell online and everything. Where is your shop? I don't have shop, I'm trading. Madam, we cannot support you. How many staff? You must have minimum of 6 staff. I said, for what? I have dispatch rider, I have all this dispatch company that dispatch for me. So why do I need to carry such costs?
Well, I can't say our staff did not tell you that, but that's not a true picture of what we do. We support trade businesses. We have funds. This is actually a partnership with Dangote where we have a 5 billion naira fund. We support made in Nigeria goods. So if you want to buy clothes from China or from India or wherever outside of Nigeria to sell, we would not support that. But if you are selling made in Nigeria goods, we have a fund to support you, and that's actually at 5%, and you can borrow up to 50 million naira. So, do you import your clothes? Yeah, so we cannot.
Because
we cannot
it's actually cheaper for me.
Yeah,
for now.
But we can't support you. We can't support that.
Praise God. Sorry, no one should join the line again, please.
Thank you very much. Please, moderator, I would like to implore you to be sincere with this question I'm going to ask, because it's beyond the facility you are giving. As a matter of fact, I just want to call your attention to what I'm going to say, especially to our government. I'm an industrialist. I own a factory, and I've been on it since 2013. I've come to notice something, because I had the privilege to travel to Ghana, and I traveled to South Africa. And one crucial thing I noticed from them, these two countries, is that either quarterly or half a year, their government goes to the small industries and others, small-scale industry and other companies, and find out the challenges they are facing. Give them a form to fill about what they are going through, for them, for the government to be of help to them, so that the company will not go down. But here in Nigeria is doomed. Forget about our government. Our government is nothing. They don't even have our data if we exist or not. So that is why businesses easily go down, even in 2 days' time, if it's not kept. Sorry, sir, I need to explain myself. Hold on. Sir, I'm putting to you as a body, what are you doing to advise our government about the small-scale industry? Because sometimes you give loan, but what are you doing to prevent it?
Okay, we are a limited liability company, like I said. We don't represent the government, but we provide, because we have access to some of these government institutions based on affiliation, we provide advocacy support for our people. And if you recall, like I mentioned, there is virtually no venture you go into that you do not have an association and, sort of a body that you guys come together to provide a force to push ahead your initiatives and your challenges. I would expect that you belong to one of them. I don't know what sort of businesses you do or what sort of products you provide, but that's a structure to even start with. And you also have representatives, House of Reps, Senate. We are not the government. We can advocate, but that's only so much we can do. If the government doesn't think it's something they should do, they take those decisions. But we can't be held responsible for, things that are not within our control. What we are set up for is to provide loans to eligible applicants who come to us. And that's where our mandate lies, and that's where our responsibility lies.
Thank you so much, sir. Please, we realize that some of us are eating and we are littering the floor. Please, this is a church, and kindly let's make sure that we are not littering the floor of the church with the bottles and at the same time the food pack. Please, let's just honor God while doing that.
Thank you. So I just want to ask a question. To access BOI funds, do one need to get through a special training or course? Because I've heard people say they went for BOI training. So I want to really clarify, is it necessary to come for a training or not?
No, it is not necessary, depending on where you fall into. So if you're just finished your service, the Graduate Entrepreneurship Fund provides free training for you, which, if you end up applying for the loan, or if you are successful or not successful, the training goes with you. You don't have to, we won't take our money back from you. For the Youth Entrepreneurship Support Fund as well, we provide that sort of training, which is a prerequisite to you accessing the loans, because we expect that you're just fresh from school, you've only learned theory, you need to learn some practical things as well. So that's a prerequisite. But generally, for businesses, if you're already in business and you need money, you do not need to, there's even no structure for that. But where you may need some support in terms of putting together your papers is where the business development service providers come into. A lot of people write their business plans themselves, and they don't need anybody. even some large institutions do not have time to write business plan. They employ business development service providers to do the plan, and they will just face the business. And they pay for the service. So you don't need it, unless you're a copper.
Okay, I want to ask a question to you. I run a business. I'm into making of temporary structures. And
by temporary structures, please.
Tents and maquettes. It's for event centers and church. And of course, it's not only Nigeria is made. The raw materials actually doesn't come from here because nobody in Nigeria make it. And but we do make it locally. We have, some other materials we use to make it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't come out perfectly the way it is, when you bring it from China. So I want to ask, because if you're having a company that is running maybe between 10 million naira to 15 million naira, and you actually want to go into the manufacturing aspect, you want to manufacture the raw material yourself here in Nigeria, because nowhere in Nigeria where it's done, and you need to get the equipment for all that, will be running about 200 million or plus, to get the equipment. So I want to know how you can treat that for a company that is still operating within the amount of maybe 10 million naira and 15 million naira. So looking for your own assistant on that aspect, how do you treat that?
First things first. Like we've said, and I'm sure even from the panel discussions, it's good to have big dreams, right? But you need to take stepwise decisions. If you're currently managing sort of like a 10 million naira worth of business or lower than that, and you want to jump straight into borrowing 200 million naira, you need to be careful. Because if you take that loan, peradventure, if you become successful, which is highly unlikely because your size of the business cannot even demonstrate that you can manage that capacity of loan, how would you survive? But just to make it simple, to answer your question straight, we support the sort of business that you do. You're manufacturing and you need to import equipment. Yes, we'll support that business, but you need to demonstrate that you can support yourself to pay back on the loan, which, based on the scenario you've painted, we will not even, we can support you, but definitely not 200 million naira, based on that scale of business. But we can support you if you can match, the requirements.
Good afternoon, sir. Yeah, I'm a producer in the music industry. And I know there was a particular time I approached a commercial bank, and they said they don't really support that particular area. So I'm so excited when I heard that you people have a loan for people in the Nollywood. But I have not heard anything about the music industry. So I want to know, how can somebody who is in the music industry access loan from you people, and if you have any platform for them? Thank you, sir.
I don't know if you just came in, sir. I've talked about music. Each time I talk about creative industry, I talk about music. A case in point is the band, right, who used to be our ambassador. He borrowed about 40 million naira at some point to put together a platform to share music. And he paid even before the loan was due to be repaid. So we support music. But it depends on what you do. So if you support music in terms of you sing and you go to parties and you may want, money to buy equipment, that's a different angle to it, which we can still listen to you and see where maybe we can do something there, but we support music industry. It could be virtual, it could be a platform, you want to do file sharing, you want to do all sorts, we support.
Thanks so much. Please, can we put our hands together? Come, Sayinka, please. I have a few questions there. Some of them you've dealt with them, but the ones that you've not dealt with, let's quickly go to them. What are the things current? What are the available that can be accessible by the SMEs?
Okay, we don't provide grants as Bank of Industry. We provide loans, right? But in situations, one of the things we do is to support business, federal government's, social intervention program. There's this market money and farmer money and N-Power that the government provided us with funds that we distributed on their behalf. They're actually loans, they're not grants. But we have situations where a partner, may just approach us and say they want to, distribute money, which will be grant to people and not pay back. We can do that. But in terms of our own funds, we cannot even do it based on the mandates that set us up.
Thank you so much for that. Another question here: how can you be of help to someone who but don't have money at hand, but have experience on the business that he or she wants to do?
I don't understand it. They don't have money at hand.
It's only experience that the person has.
Yeah, but you don't have to have money to borrow. If you have money, you won't borrow now. Well, it depends. How much do you want? We can have a discussion. How much are you looking for? What do you want to do with the money? Those are some of the things. And like I said, you can have somebody, even it may be him, that can personally guarantee you. If it's 500,000, 1 million, 2 million, you can bring a personal guarantor. But it's not just bringing the collateral that matters. What do you want to do with the money? What business do you do? How do you think you'll be able to pay back so that we don't chase after this gentleman who has just guaranteed the loan? So all those discussions need to take place.
I think you dealt with this, but in what category can we place producing of paint?
It's manufacturing. Yeah, so we'll support manufacturing.
Okay. Briefly explain the benefits of the Women and Youth Empowerment Scheme and how can it be assessed?
Okay, so for women, like I said, we have a group that is dedicated. The only sort of proposals that they process is women business. And this covers all sorts of businesses, from fashion to all sorts. And in that area, there's a global phenomenon now about ensuring that women are financially empowered. So we're even getting some funds coming from outside Nigeria where we can provide loans to women at even more subsidized rates and flexible conditions. So all you need to do is just be clear as to what you want to do or what you're currently doing. You want to scale up, what do you need money for? You need to be clear on those things, or else there will just be no point giving you money, or you just get the money and not do anything with it.
Okay, thank you. So is there the relationship that you have with commercial banks when it comes to disbursement of loans? And if you have a relationship with them, what do they do when it comes to in case of defaulting?
Okay, for our relationship with commercial banks, like I said, for large projects, we have customers who borrow 10 billion, 15 billion from us. These sort of funds are usually backed by bank guarantees that commercial banks provide. So that's that relationship we have with them, which is mutually beneficial. So they take the risk, we share in the income and all of that. And the funds will pass through the commercial bank to get to the ultimate beneficiaries in terms of where you want to buy your equipment or if it's working capital. But for small monies, relatively smaller monies rather, you're looking for like 100 million, 200 million. If you have a property that can cover it, you don't have to deal with through the commercial banks. And one thing I need to also stress is we don't provide funds directly to the borrower. So if you want to borrow money to buy equipment, we would relate directly with the equipment producer or seller to pay them directly, because we've seen a lot. But for working capital as well, if you need money to buy stock and all sorts of things, we'll pay directly to the supplier. But in some cases, of course, for small businesses like the youth businesses, you borrow 2 million, you need 500,000 to buy, maybe you make shoes, to buy leather and buy other things. We can provide you with money directly. So it depends on the situation, and that's why I've talked about us being flexible in that respect, especially for small businesses. Because we don't expect you to now be, if you're buying 50,000 from here, 10,000 from here, to now be paying people up and down. So if it's, so it's just something that we think through before we provide directly, especially for micro and small businesses.
Thank you. You've talked about some of this. Please, how can one get loan to start a business? I think you've spoken about that earlier on. Do BOI finance purchase of machineries, equipment for an enterprise?
Oh, absolutely.
You've dealt with that. Do they also finance installation of the machineries?
Yes, that's part of the loan. So we capitalize those things.
Okay. Do they also finance the construction of a factory?
We do not finance brick and mortar, right? So if you want to build your office or your factory, we cannot provide you money to build your structure. But to equip your factory, yes, that's what we do. And the same thing we do in the creative industry, entertainment industry, for hotels. We support hotels too, but we don't provide funds to build. But we provide you with funds to buy your ACs, to buy your projectors, to buy your kitchen equipment. Equipment, basically, that's what we do.
Okay. You've dealt with this too, the BOI support loan for business company into engineering, design, building, and construction. Example, buying or purchasing of equipment, concrete mixers.
Yeah, so if you are in the block making industry, yeah, we can buy you equipment to make your blocks.
Okay. Do BOI give loan for performance bond?
Loan for performance bond, I don't get you. Now you've gotten a contract, and we don't do that. You've gotten a contract and you need that bond to support your contract, your financer. No, we don't do that.
Last but not the least, this one I don't think is between the scope of this program, but I want to know if it is good or godly for Christians to venture into multi-level marketing, which is also known as network marketing.
Well, personally, I don't see anything wrong with it. It's ethical. There are rules around every business. So if you follow the rules, why not?
Please, can we put our hands together for Mr. Yinka, please? Please, I think it deserves a standing ovation. Please, can we put our hands together once more? Let's appreciate him. Thanks so much for being a blessing to us. God bless you. And we pray that the next time we hear from you, we hear good things. Praise God. Brethren, we will soon leave here. But I know that a lot of us we need the slides. So I've been told that we should contact the president of our Redeemers Men's Fellowship, and they will be the ones to disseminate the slides. So kindly contact them. And at the same time, I think I can see some CDs going around. I don't know, Brother Banjo, Broccoli, are the CDs for this program? Yes, the CDs are available. So you can go to the back, the ushers are there, and you can buy some of the CDs. How many of you have been blessed today? How many of you have been blessed? How many of you are ready? How many of you know that this decade will be your best decade ever? I want you to shout hallelujah. In 1 minute, let's just appreciate God. Let's just thank God for this program. We know it has been successful. Let's thank God for the main program. Let's thank God for the organizers. Let's pray that God will continually bless them. As they've been a blessing to us, let's pray to you in the name of Jesus. In Jesus' name, we are prayed. Let's share the grace. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore. Amen. Surely, God's goodness and mercy shall follow us all the days of our lives, and we shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. Amen. Thanks so much. Have a great evening.